All right, so here we are. It is RadiOrbit. It's time to talk about Marko Rodin. And today I was trying to come up with an introduction that was fitting for this gentleman, and I didn't know exactly how to introduce him, so I decided what I would do is just use an introduction based on something that somebody else wrote about him. And the person who wrote the following is a guy whose name was Russell Blake, or is Russell Blake, and for about 12 years, I want to say 12, maybe 14 years, he was the senior research engineer at Microsoft. He was Bill Gates' guy. He's one of the magicians behind all the code that makes everything in all of our computers work. And he made an extraordinary statement about Marko Rodin's work. And I'm going to read it here really quickly, and then we'll bring Marko on the air. Here's how it goes. To whom it may concern, 2 years ago I met Marko Rodin through a mutual acquaintance. Mr. Rodin shared some of his results with me at that time. It became clear to me that Mr. Rodin's work was a synthesis of numerical patterns which had previously been overlooked by conventional science and mathematics. In hopes of bridging the gap between Mr. Rodin's discoveries and conventional science, I put forth an analytical framework in which mathematical formulae generate the numerical patterns of what is called the Rodin torus. These formulae suggest that the Rodin torus lies not just on the surface of the donut shape, but into the interior as well. In other words, the Rodin torus is three-dimensional. This mathematical formulation is as yet incomplete, and the physical meaning of these numerical phenomena remain unexplored still. Yet in my career, I have several times discovered new mathematical formulations which have led to new products. In the late 1970s, I discovered atomic modeling, which revolutionized computer performance modeling, measurement, and sizing. In the early 1990s, I discovered new ways to express the time-dependent behavior of program code, which led to reductions of program code size of 50% of the original for all programs to which it was applied. I mention these facts merely to convince the reader that my intuition has a history of success in the practical application of new mathematics. Now I am completely convinced that the Rodin torus will likewise lead to new and revolutionary advances in art and science. Mr. Rodin's work has suffered from a lack of adequate scientific attention, and I am sure that as the research momentum builds and the proper relationship between the Rodin torus and conventional science is fully understood, both areas of endeavor will attain new heights. I am very much looking forward to playing a role in this adventure. Now, these are the words of Russell Blake, a mathematical genius in his own right, highly regarding the gentleman who we're going to talk to right now. So without further delay, Marko Rodin, thanks very much for being on RadiOrbit, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you for inviting me, Mike.
You're welcome. And, wow, amazing words from a guy like Russell Blake. Absolutely amazing.
Russell Blake is the author of the book Optimizing Windows NT, which was published by Microsoft Press. He's a celebrity wherever he travels internationally. Last time I spoke with him, he had moved to China because he was so famous and everybody knew him to continue his work.
Well, I couldn't think of a better way to introduce you than that, so that's what we did. So, Marko Rodin, here you are. Let's start out by talking a little bit about you, Marko. I want people to understand who you are, where you came from, and we'll even talk a little bit about where these ideas came from. Tell us a little bit about yourself and where you came from and how you got along this path.
Okay. The best way, the most entertaining way to me to explain what I do is I'm interested in sounds. Sometimes it's referred to as resonance. When I was a little kid, I used to watch the old Tarzan movies with the kookaburra echoing, making the sound in the background.
Right.
And, of course, that is an Australian bird that didn't exist in Africa. But it sounded so good in the Tarzan movies that they added it for the effect. And when I was about, I think, 7 or so, I really can't remember, I learned how to make that sound so loud that you could hear it blocks away. I must have tore up the apartment building I lived in, because that's what I loved to do in our apartment, was make that sound. So I noticed that it affected my dreams and it affected my energy levels. And I realized that the sound was tuning me. And that's when I realized that we aren't all created just as at a static state, that we all have potentials that can be affected by harmonics, by sounds. So
yeah, look at what music does to people. I mean, that's the obvious example. It gets your feet tapping, gets your body moving. The right stuff makes you feel different ways, makes you react differently. No question about it.
In every historical source, harmonic sound, music is the most revered thing, especially in religion. In the Bible, the saying is that the keys of heaven are unlocked through the name of God. In the Torah, they didn't say the name of God, Adonai Eloheinu, because they didn't want to desecrate it. In every religion, if you learn the precise mystic intonation of the name of God, it teaches that you reach the apex of consciousness, that you get divine guidance.
Right. Yes. There's something about speaking the name or being able to know the true name of God, whatever that means. There's
so many complications to it. Sometimes they refer to it as the precise mystic intonation, So, in all religions, it says that the name of God was created by the Word. And again,
right.
Most people having a background with the Bible, we always hear about the Word.
Let's clarify that, Marko, real fast, because for people out there who aren't familiar